Episode 322. Welcome into Cincinnati Soccer Talk, where, like our listeners' favorite club, we start out shaky, recover for a moment, fall apart for about 2/3 of the show, and then salvage something right at the end. No subs here, though. We are starting and ending with the same lineup, I hope. How about Saturday's match? On one side of the coin, you can proudly say FC Cincinnati is still undefeated and hold your head up high. Flip that coin over, and you're trying to figure out what on earth happened that your team was down 3-1. I know I was asking myself that right after what Noonan gave. I can only imagine was a halftime speech that put fear in our boys. Fear that hasn't been seen since Kendall Waston's hand was coming at a goal scorer's face. Whatever that speech was, it intimidated them so much that FC Cincinnati came out and dropped a third goal to Chicago 18 seconds after kicking off. But lucky for us, FC Cincinnati's bench is full of power and vindication. Wow, pause for a second. I just said that after the last few years. Anyway, we want to get in touch, I guess, with the good, the bad. What are these guys that are with me saying, chill out, everything's fine about? Who's hitting the panic button? But first, I guess let's introduce the cast. It's been a bit, but let's bring in the man that already covers FC Cincinnati and decided he's crazy enough to also cover FC Cincinnati too. Robert, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Boston. I am looking forward to covering those FCC2 games, but also enjoying the way the season is unfolding for the first team.
Right? It's we're all hoping for a better FCC2 season this year than the one they had last year. I'm going to cough that up to just them figuring out what they're doing, right?
Yeah, I think even in terms of stocking the roster, they're still working some things out. I do expect it'll be a better group this year.
We've been asked by people over the past year to keep an eye on FC Cincinnati too, especially because fans, it's a lot to keep track of who's on that team, who's on our team. But eventually we are going to have a star player come from that team. That's my prediction. And it's going to be nice that Robert's going to identify him for us in advance. No pressure.
I'll do
all right. Next up, Josh loves a good comeback draw. That's why he has to be on tonight. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I figured, in the spirit of things where I floundered the first couple of weeks, but I have looking to bounce back dramatically and scrape by and do just enough.
All right.
That's what I bring to the table. Just enough.
Sorry, I already have my first correction in chat. They're letting me know it was 16 seconds after the half, not 18 seconds. So, Kevin Michael, thank you. I just took a random stab at it, and memory failed me there. Justin, when I was getting ready for the show tonight, all I could hear was Justin's HVAC system, and it just reminded me of my sponsor, Apollo Home. I was like, oh, man, that's going to be the perfect plug. How you doing, bud?
Doing great, man. Yeah, that's the problem with Northern Kentucky life, man. You got these unfinished basements.
No. Hey, at least you got a basement. I mean, that's more than most of us could say.
Fair enough.
But big thanks, of course, to our sponsor, Apollo Home, the premier home service provider in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, I guess. They pride themselves on awesome customer service, expert technicians, and 7-day-a-week service. For a limited time, they're still offering that $39 furnace tune-up, the Cincinnati Soccer Talk special. Keep your HVAC system running strong this winter with that tune-up offer. Give them a call or schedule online at apollohome.com. Let's dive into tonight's best and worsts. Robert, you were talking before the show. Give me your thoughts.
Well, the best, I think, is the most obvious one, at least for me, which is just having the fighting spirit in the group to come back when not only you're down 2 goals, but it just seemed like it wasn't your night. You had a goal called back. You had a couple of really good scoring chances for Brandon Vasquez that didn't go in. And you were into the last 5 minutes of regular time. And, you have to have that mentality to have a chance. It wouldn't have been that difficult to pack it in. But they really did continue to attack. I felt like during the second half, the goal was coming. And then after the goal was disallowed, then I'm thinking, well, maybe not. Maybe it really isn't their night. But they kept plugging away. I'm not saying it was against a great team by any means, but still, they put forth the effort not only to tie the game, they really could have won that game. Brenner had a great chance to win that game after that and was denied by a fingertip save. So those kinds of things, that's going to carry over through the season, and that'll serve them well. And it's not that we haven't only just now seen it from this group, but that was a pretty good mentality display there.
Yeah, I agree with you. But don't you hate it when they say it's a trap game and they're right? Like, I was like, shut up about a trap game. It's Chicago. We'll be fine.
Well, in the preview article, I was writing at the beginning about overconfidence. Like, this is not something FC Cincinnati and MLS have had to think about too much. But right after the previous week, that was the first thing Noonan started talking about is don't think you're better than you are. You still have to do X, Y, and Z. And he obviously has a pretty good grasp of it because something was missing at the beginning of that game.
Yeah, indeed.
Even after going up a goal.
All right, Josh, you're up next. Best and worst, sir.
Yeah, best is still finding ways to get points despite not really putting it all together yet. We haven't seen this FC Cincinnati group really kind of go from top to bottom with a stout performance. I mean, things started out shaky with the offense, and the defense has been such a pleasant surprise in terms of how in sync they've been from the jump and how compact they've looked and how they've handled pressure despite losing some pieces and bringing some new faces in. And I think they've kind of been the key so far because the offense still is struggling. And then this past game, you rotated some pieces out. You lost apparently Nick Hagglund, the linchpin. Nick Hagglund apparently is keeps the whole thing together because you take him out and all of a sudden the glue comes unglued a little bit. But it was great to see the offense kind of spring ahead and put in 3 goals, even though Brandon Vasquez wasn't on the score sheet again, and Brenner is starting to figure it out and get in more dangerous positions. So it's been encouraging to see them still get points in every game so far, despite the fact that we haven't seen this team look the best. And that kind of just leads me into my worst, which is we're 4 weeks in now and we still haven't seen this team put a full performance in yet. You've had some great, the Seattle game was an incredible game, an incredible atmosphere, but it was still nervy at times. It was still looked shaky. You felt like they should have been better, especially against a team like Chicago, where you're coming in and you top to bottom, you have more talent than them. Just there's no question about it. You have more talent. You have more goal scoring prowess. You should be able to beat a team like a Chicago 3-0. Now, yes, the conditions were cold and all of those things, but at some point talent has to take over, and Lucho going out and not starting the game obviously kind of changed those perspectives a little bit, but I still think you're not panicking yet because obviously you're getting points, but you're starting to ask the questions. The question marks are starting to come up of like, okay, Brandon just looks a little frustrated. He's going to keep shooting, but he missed a sitter again. Like that goal, open chance he had early should have been a goal. Like you can't. So that says like, okay, this is a guy that's in his own head now, and you've got some questions in the midfield of Wilbodo starting to figure it out as well. So I'd like to see a complete performance here in a. Next week would be great. This coming week would be awesome, but it's nice to get 4 points or get the points in 4 games, but let's see it all together.
Yeah, especially because how good some of these guys can be. We've seen them at their best, right?
Exactly.
Have you guys seen the chart of expected goals in MLS and like how each team's about where they should be? Maybe some a little over and under. Then like there's St. Louis that's like apparently hit every chance they've ever had.
Well, it helps when teams are literally passing you the ball with an XG of 1.5, and it's
that's what I thought of when I was like, if Brandon hit every shot he's taken this year, we would look like St. Louis right now.
Yeah, we'd be fine.
All right, Justin, you're up next.
Yeah. So I think Josh touched on my point. My point was 8 points, no Vasquez goal. I think that's pretty incredible. If you would have told me that before the season, I wouldn't believe you. I think Vasquez going into the season, I felt like was the linchpin to this team. Whether or not we could go far, whether or not we could pick up points, we needed the goals like we saw in 2022. I'm gonna give a bonus one since Josh touched on it. I'm gonna go with the lineup or the changes that Pat Noonan made. Really late in the game, but every one of them hit on Sergio Santos, created chaos in that back line, as he so often does. He's a really difficult player to match up with whenever you're sitting on, 80 minutes of play for a back line. That is probably the last person you want to see on the pitch. He's probably one of the fastest players in most MLS rosters, and he was just creating chaos. And of course, the captain, Lucho Acosta, uh, fantastic. I mean, completely was in rhythm, played well, didn't try to stretch it when we were down. I mean, he came on when we were down 2 goals, and we've seen Lucho in the past sometimes try to play a little bit of hero ball. Nope, just patient, created chances, got a goal, got 2 goals. As for my worst, kind of playing into Lucho Acosta, still don't have a backup for Lucho. We've now, between last year and this year, we've seen Cruz, Markinic, Barriel, Kubo, and now Ngolo in that position, and nothing. We're not looking for a Lucho Acosta type performance. We're just looking for a quality 10 in MLS, and we just don't have any stability there. So, with the amount of competitions we're going to be facing this season, I think we're guaranteed 37 competitions, and obviously we're hoping to get to the playoffs and make an Open Cup, Leagues Cup run. We need to get the guy some breathers, man. Manage his minutes, and then of course, like we saw last year, whenever he's not playing, like in the Columbus match last year, we need somebody to be able to step up and really solidify that 10 position.
The worst could be worse. Like I remember being on this show a couple years ago before Acosta saying, "We just need a 10." Any 10 will do.
Yeah, much better position today, but yes, these are first world problems.
All right, my best. We don't seem to have any long-term injuries. I've started to notice a trend around the league. There's been some big names going down across the across the league, and it's scary, right? If you are a team that has depth, and we've talked about how much depth we've had, and I want to talk about that a little bit down later in the show. But then you see a game like Chicago, and you're like, oh wow. There are a few key players that we really should have on the pitch. So, want to dive more into that a little bit later in the show. And worst, we're going to be missing our brace scoring player next match. I mean, we talk about missing players. Júnior Moreno, shining star all of a sudden. I don't think anyone had that on the bingo card when you have players like Vasquez, Brenner on this team, and then Júnior Moreno just happens to be putting himself in the right spot, which, I mean, that's all you need. It's really scrappy. Some people will say maybe lucky, but honestly, if you look at his second goal, he stepped back and made sure he was catching the rebound, and heads up play on his part. But that's it for our best and worst. We do want to make sure you're checking out our midweek show, Jersey Swap. It is back in action, and I think episode this week will have somebody, Club and Country from Nashville. So check it out. It's really enjoyable. And then also Coach's player ratings came back this week. I kid you not. You guys blew us up via email, Facebook. Where are the player ratings this year? Where are the player ratings this year? And we know it's a fan favorite. So we pulled Coach back out of retirement, held him hostage, and he is back at it. So great on that. We are going to bring in this week's Apple TV MLS broadcasting host Tony Husband is joining us, and we are pleased to have you. We are also pleased to have you because we don't get me wrong, we love Kurt, we love Terrence, Tony, but I don't know if you know this, but we've had these guys 3 weeks in a row, so I think fans are ready for a new face, a new voice. Can you hear me all right? we'll check back with Tony here in a second when he's got audio. So we'll real quick. I don't think we can hear you yet. So we'll see if Tony can get that fixed here, and we'll swap back really quick. And all right, guys, real quick. I talked about it a moment ago. Depth. We talked about this on prior podcasts. We saw cracks this week. I want to dive really quick onto the Angulo. Angulo subs for Lucho Acosta. Why we give him a break. What were your opening thoughts? I guess going into the match, are you happy this is where we turn?
I was happy going into the match.
Right.
I mean, I think that Angulo playing a Chicago side that's not, having a midfield that's of quality form. I thought it was a great chance that we saw flashes of it in the whenever we saw the highlights of him last season. He likes to play forward, and I thought maybe he'd be able to possess the ball a little bit better in the midfield, but it really just started breaking down closer to the halftime mark. I was pretty disappointed because I was so hopeful. I've been hammering it home that I really, like I said in my worst, want that 10 backup role, somebody that can slide in there whenever we're down Lucho. But N'Golo, for me, for a first cap in the freezing cold 8-degree weather, I believe, not terrible, not earth-shatteringly bad, but it was not working. Possession was far and few between.
So it's a big ask, right, to cover Lucio and Acosta. Real quick, I want to check in. Tony, can you hear me okay?
I've got you now, fellas.
All
Thank
right.
you. Yes, I'm so sorry about the false start. It was that oldest of things. Just kind of get the lead and give it a bit more of a whack, and suddenly I'm listening to your excellent conversation. So apologies for that.
No, you're all right. I know our platform here can be a little bit confusing. I'll take full blame for that. But you missed my great joke. I said we've had Kerr and Terrans on for the last 3 weeks. FC Cincinnati fans they're ready for a new voice.
Well, I'm sure I will attempt to live up to Tyler and Devon's fine commentary this weekend, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be a really, really good game, I hope, this weekend.
No, they're great guys. We've had them on this show before, and you got a good one. You got a really good one. I don't know how they do the assignments. Do you sometimes look at the schedule and you're like, do you love every game equally, or are there some that are better than others?
Well, you got to say you love every game equally, haven't you? But no, I'll be totally honest with you. So I got the first 6 weeks, and then we've been getting a few weeks beyond that. So I know where I'm going to be up to about week 10 of the season at the moment. Okay. But I remember when I got the first 6 weeks through, I did look at this one and think I'm really pleased to have Nashville and Cincinnati. I think it's a great game. I've been lucky enough to call every MLS game that's been played between Nashville and Cincinnati. So I've seen that history. And I know of the history, obviously, but it predates MLS, going back to USL days. And, when I appeared occasionally on a Nashville podcast down the years, I would always regale them with the story that I'd only heard and then seen on YouTube videos of Big Bird and Tucker Hume doing the celebration in front of the Cincinnati fans in those USL days, and they always very much enjoy the fact that I looked over a little bit of the history of the contest. But it's produced some good games as well down the years.
Yes, it is. I know exactly what you're talking about. I was just off to the side of that. I think that was done here in Cincinnati. So
it was.
Very, very unique history between the two. I never thought anything would take off in USL because Cincinnati already had a deep budding rivalry with Louisville, and to me that was special. It was unique, and then all of a sudden there's this club. We've built up this cool thing in Cincinnati. We've got all these people, and then locally when Nashville got that call from Don Garber, it just struck a chord here. Like, how did these guys cut the line? And ever since then, it's just been hostility, but in a good way, I think.
Yes, it has. I think it's definitely a contest that both sets of fans obviously feel there's an extra bit of bite to. Obviously, there's been some big moments. Cincinnati got the better of Nashville and USL in the playoffs in the penalty shootout, didn't they? And that's the only kind of technical victory over Nashville. So I think you've got to feel like you owe Nashville one at some point. Nashville will look at that game in October, 2021 now, where it was just a wild game all over the place. That game was for the first 45 minutes, and then Nashville in the end ran out, scoring 6 on that night, which still remains one of their best scoring performances, or their best scoring performance in MLS. So it's a game that instantly, for both sets of fans, people will think of memories, they'll think of the rivalry, and they'll also think, this is a game that we want to win, whichever side you look at it from.
Yeah. No doubt about it. Really looking forward to this one. Plus, they're both billed as pretty good teams now. I mean, the era of Cincinnati stumbling into Major League Soccer seems to be over. You've got what they call now on a lot of broadcasts the 3-headed attack up front, and then Noonan, of course, shoring up this team a little bit this year. Did you get a chance to check out that last match yet? I know it's early in the week, but Cincinnati, Chicago, 6 goals, comeback win. I mean, that's got to be a broadcasting dream.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. So you know what? I will watch the entire 90 minutes. I always watch the full 90 minutes of each team I'm doing every week. And actually, with that early in the season, I've been, in some cases, able to watch almost every 90 minutes of the teams I've been doing. I've only seen the highlights so far, so I've only really seen the goals. I haven't really had a chance to dissect and kind of digest the drama of it all, but it looks fabulous. In the end, Cincinnati pulling something out of nowhere where, it looked game over. So a fantastic point in the end. Contrast, I think, with, I did sit through the entire 90 minutes of the game in Orlando, which was in the second week, because I was doing Orlando in week 3 in Washington. And of course, I kept my eye on Cincinnati in that game as well. And I think there's the contrast of really winning a point in Chicago with getting a point in Orlando, but I just felt watching that game, there were a couple more points left on the table there on that occasion. Orlando played a weak inside. Cincinnati got themselves in some great positions with what is a really, really frightening attacking force that you've got now. And I just feel that, look, there's no bad point on the road in MLS, but I do think there was a great opportunity for 3 points on that occasion. So, but this weekend just gone, looked wild. I will enjoy watching it back in its entirety.
Yeah, we look forward to having you call this one. Nashville, I want a little bit more insight because you've covered them, like you said, and I looked up your history. You were the Nashville broadcaster before there was a Apple TV, right? So tough cookie. Not always the most entertaining games because they have always had that defensive first focus. Then all of a sudden last year we get one of the leading scorers out of Nashville, but still a lot of draws. Still have a pretty tough defense. What happens when the attacking FC Cincinnati meets the defensive Nashville this round? What are you looking forward to? Good
question, isn't it? Now, first off, I think now Brenner and Brandon Vasquez, they only have 1 goal between them this season, and that is an outlier kind of statistic, I think, at this point. Both of them, of course, have been linked with moves in the build-up to the season, and I think that can definitely play a factor on a player. And MLS is a long season. I really like Brenner and Vasquez as a front pairing in an era where we seem to be maybe moving back to seeing more teams perhaps give this a go now with playing the 2 up top. Now they will meet in Walker Zimmerman and Jack Mayer, a fantastic blossoming combination at the back. Nashville, of course, have lost Dave Romney from that rear guard that had been so good for them for the first 3 years in MLS. And now they've kind of promoted Jack Mayer, who'd been part of that group, but now he is the regular alongside his great mate, Walker Zimmerman. It's going to be a very, very interesting contest. And behind them, of course, you've got Joe Willis, who only conceded his first goal of the season at the weekend in New England, their defeat there. So this is going to be a really interesting contest. Can Cincinnati break down the door? Nashville notoriously difficult to do that against. And they seem to have got their mojo back at home as well. They had a really bad, struggling time in the heat of midsummer last year, early on in their time at Geodis Park, where suddenly teams kept coming there and coming away with points and even victories. And then they got things back and sorted before the end of the season and started to score a lot of goals. People talk about defense and all that. Nashville offensively were a very, very strong team by the end of last season at home, and they looked very good at the start of this season at home, and quite a contrast probably to the team that you see on the road as well. So that's going to be interesting. I think, big test for Nashville's defense, but big test as well for what looks to me at the moment like a kind of 5-man, 3-man back line that Pat Noonan seems to be playing as well.
Yeah, we're not afraid to experiment this year. I think the biggest difference from last year's FC Cincinnati to this year's FC Cincinnati, in my opinion, is a little bit more depth off the bench. And we're starting to see where these substitutions are really, really coming into play for FCC. So if you're looking for a take on the broadcast, I would keep an eye on that, especially if FCC's down, Kubo's back. It'll be interesting. FC Cincinnati also be missing Júnior Moreno. If you heard us before for an international call-up, I had my fingers crossed maybe that Zimmerman would go, but it looks like he dodged it. This is as did Brandon Vasquez. Most MLS players sitting out this round. It looks like.
That's right. Yeah, only Miles Robinson, I think, from Atlanta.
Okay,
and that's for obvious reasons because he's had such a long time out of the program. I think they just want to get him back and assimilated after his recovery from serious injury. So the MLS players essentially remain with their clubs on this break. For the US men's national team. Interestingly, though, I was in Toronto at the weekend on a bitterly cold night by Lake Ontario, and there were 4 Canadian players in the Toronto group who will not be with Toronto this weekend, or are not expected to be with them anyway. That was certainly at the time at the weekend, it looked like they would not be available. So they'll go to San Jose minus quite a few experienced players. So it's interesting how it affects teams in different ways. Nashville have got Randall Leal, who's been on the periphery of the Costa Rica setup for the last couple of seasons, fallen a little bit out of favor, but is injured anyway at the moment. Annabelle Godoy has been struggling with a shoulder injury sustained on the first weekend of the season as well. So players like those kind of players should be in and around the Nashville group.
This is a big one. FC Cincinnati fans bought up every ticket Nashville offered, and then they gave us a little bit more, thankfully, and we bought all those up as well. I'll be traveling over as I think we have a photographer we're sending. So you have plenty of people that are going to be listening to the audio version of this podcast or just happen to be on at 9 p.m. at night that are probably looking for a Nashville heads up. Where should we go? What's a restaurant or a bar that fans should check out?
Well, I think you're coming to the land of hot chicken and you're coming to the land of barbecue, of course. So if you head down to the delights of Broadway in Nashville, and when the Bengals came here, by the way, in the NFL playoffs last year in the 2021 season or 2021 playoffs, and Cincinnati invaded Nashville for that ultimately successful game. There were plenty of Cincinnati fans hitting Broadway on that occasion, I can tell you. But, if you want to try some hot chicken, a couple of establishments that are very popular in the Nashville area, Hattie B's, which is right on Broadway in the 5th and Broadway complex. If the line is too long, my tip would be go up into the 5th and Broadway Center, and in there is a place called Prince's Hot Chicken, which is a long-established Nashville chicken establishment, and their chicken is excellent as well, but pretty hot. So look out for that. So those are 2 good chicken options. There's lots of barbecue places, of course, as they're very proud of their barbecue in this part of the world. Martin's Barbecue, Jack Cawthorne's Barbecue, all around in downtown. Give them a go, but expect to stand in line for a while, but it does move quite quickly.
I'm going to try. My wife is very insistent on going to Miranda Lambert's bar because she's a big fan. So I think I might be one of those annoying tourists for a little bit, just to see what the city has to offer. Well, before I get you out of here, are there any questions you have for us about FC Cincinnati? Can we help you in any way this week as you prepare?
Yeah, well, you guys tell me, what am I looking at that this is obviously Monday night, so I haven't started to dig deep into this game as yet, but The obvious players are the ones that you would always zero in on. We've talked about Brenner and Vasquez. We know what Acosta could do. What a ball that was, by the way, as he hit that ball across the field at Soldier Field. I did see that in the highlights earlier. And that puff of sand that appeared to come off the surface there as he pinged that ball. It's like, that was a thing of beauty, that pass. But yeah, what else am I looking for? What am I looking for? How's Roboto getting on? Because I know Cincinnati were very high on him when I saw him play in the 1-1 draw up in Cincinnati last year between Nashville and Cincinnati. I was told to keep an eye on him. It was early days for him at that point, but how's he been looking?
Yeah,
I'd say, go ahead,
Robert.
No, the biggest change I'd say, and Pat Noonan has talked about this, last year a lot of the success the team had was just outscoring teams. Just what you mentioned before, that attacking front three, very dynamic, very entertaining, but they would also leak goals during a lot of that time and win 4-3, etc. This year, clearly an emphasis of his, Pat Noonan's, has been to build a team that could also control games, that could shut down the opposition. Nwobodo just keeps getting better and better. I think obviously having Matt Miazga from the beginning of the season makes a big difference in the back line. And you just see them controlling more. Now the Chicago game was an exception to that. You had a couple players missing. But if you look at the first 3 games, and Pat Noonan in his comments after, pretty proud of the fact that they controlled large segments of those games. And if they can get the right balance there between that sort of control and yet getting that front 3 unleashed more, and then you can start talking about contending for higher honors within the league. So it's a work in progress, but overall shape, defensive effort, I'd say, is the biggest change this year.
And if I can sneak one more question in before I go to you, then you obviously bounced back from the wooden spoon years last year, you get in the playoffs, you win a playoff game. So what would be the minimum that you want to see for as FC Cincinnati fans this year?
I think it's hosting a playoff game. I think you're you're taking that next step as a team to not just, okay, you surprise people, you crash the party, some people say a shock. You went into Red Bull Arena and took them down at the death there, and then gave Philly everything that they could have wanted. I mean, that was a game. That was a hard fought. That was a playoff game. So I think this year your bare minimum is you're going to host a playoff game, because what this fan base has proven is that TQL Stadium is going to be a fortress, and you're not going to come in there and get everything that, control the tempo of the game. They're going to make you work for it. You're going to make you earn it. So if they can host that playoff game and maybe even host 2 playoff games, then now you're talking potentially something bigger.
Yeah. And by the way, what a fantastic stadium. And I must say, coming from England, where our fans, we can be very fickle about our teams. And if our team is losing week in, week out, you will see the attendances plummet. You will see the mood plummet. It has always been a source of great admiration that I've had watching has seen Cincinnati go through such difficult times where so much was going right off the field, but on the field, the team was just so poor in those early days, no matter how many times they seem to try and reinvent it. So for the fans to keep the faith and come in the numbers that you have, and, now to be rewarded somewhat with the progress up the standings, and now looking at the playoffs and those aspirations you have, just is fantastic. And I just think this weekend's game, when you look at it's Nashville and Cincinnati, it's everything we want MLS to be in 2023 in this incarnation of the league that it is now. Look at these 2 markets. Look at the stadiums they play in, the crowds they draw. It's fabulous, and it couldn't be a better example of where the league has traveled.
Yeah, I agree 100%. If you didn't check out last week, I noticed MLS dropped a player feature on Obi. And if you're looking for a little bit of a bite, that thing was some of the best writing I've seen this year. And I can't believe apparently he picked up that story. He interviewed Obi about his past, about his time overseas, and then how he got to America and how he played, and just everything. It made me want to run through a brick wall. So I definitely check that out. If you're looking for a bit on him, because it's got his playing style and everything he kind of stands for there, and why Noonan brought him to the team. So it's a pretty cool feature, and I think it's still up on MLS.com. All right, well, We appreciate you stopping by. This is one of our favorite features. We really love Apple TV is getting you guys out here, especially because a lot of our fans, we're meeting new faces. You're co-broadcasters, Portland Timbers, right? So
yes, Ross, yeah.
Yeah, so Ross, we haven't seen a lot from Ross over here in Cincinnati because we don't play Portland all that much, and we're really looking forward to hearing you guys, getting to know your voices, especially over the next couple of years. So we appreciate, we really do love you guys taking time at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to come on our show. So thanks so much.
Oh, in the central zone, it's still early days. No problem at all, guys. Great to be on. And it's great as well to, this is the start of a new journey in terms of the broadcasting for the league. It's something where everybody in it, because it's so new, we're part of something very special, we feel, and something transformational for the league. It's a long-term thing. We want to learn and get better with it every single week. And we want to listen to what people want to say, and want to tell us about it. So, it's great to hear you're enjoying it so far, and we'll continue to strive to make it a better and better service with every week that goes by.
Great. Thanks so much for stopping by, Tony.
No problem.
See you. All right. That is Tony Husband of Apple TV, Major League Soccer's broadcast this week. You will hear more from him on the Cincinnati-Nashville game. And we really look forward to it. I'm kind of excited about a whole nother round, whole nother game. And so big thanks to Tony for stopping by. All right. Well, we were just starting to dive into it. I kind of what I want to do here for this next segment, guys, is let's look at the subs we had in this match. Let's decide if you're panicking or if you're okay with it. And we just barely started on Angulo, so I want to get back to that. Subbing in for gets the start for Acosta. First one ever, though. So here's the catch: FC Cincinnati allegedly paid $3 million in transfer fee. Does that fee demand you be ready on game one, Justin?
I
threw a tough one at you right away.
I think you'd have to think so. I'm sorry, I'm completely blitzed here. What? Repeat the question again.
$3 million.
$3 million
for our very young Acosta playing substitute.
Yeah, I think I would like to see him continue to play a more defensive role. I think Angola, you can give him some more opportunities, but I think it would have to come sometime when the table allows it, or perhaps during the Open Cup, that I would feel comfortable having him in that position right now. I think he would look into the transfers to kind of fill in that role. But as far as Angola, I think he did well at times in the match against Chicago. I think he started strong. I think it just again, weather conditions, the way that Chicago was even playing, they were kind of sitting in deep after having the lead. Didn't take them long, right? 26 minutes or 46 minutes in, 2-goal lead. So I think we definitely need to see a larger sample size, but I think Angola probably makes his mark a little bit more as an 8 for me rather than a 10.
Yeah, I if I can jump on that. Am I on? Let's see.
You are.
Okay. So yeah, when we signed him, and everything I heard about it ahead of time, I was looking at him as being a central midfielder, and that ideally he's going to be playing alongside Obi. And maybe we had some question marks about Júnior Moreno. Now, instead, what has happened, perhaps in response to that, is Junior's really come on at the beginning of this season, and Noonan talked about those two midfielders having a clearer understanding of who is staying back, who is going forward. And Junior's been farther up the field than I think he was all of last year. And so I don't know if that's delayed it for Marco. He's only 21. I don't think the fact that they paid that fee for him means that he should be ready from day one to be a starter. I saw a number of good moments from him on Saturday. He's got some great vision. His feet are good. Now, in the first couple of weeks, I also saw him give the ball away about every time he touched it. So, I get the fact that it's a work in progress, and that was going to be a valuable experience for him playing Saturday. But I don't think the idea was for him to be, like Justin said, a number 10. If there's anybody who's a backup to Lucho there, it's Alvaro Barriel, who's, oh, by the way, the starting left back, and then there's no backup left back. So, it's a bit of a what's the word? Imprecision in the roster. But I liked what I saw mostly from Marco, and I think that's only going to get better. And I think Albright and whoever else was involved in that have found a good player. Just to be a little bit patient till he starts contributing day in and day out.
Yeah, there's another player on this roster that maybe had a slow start that costs a lot of money, Josh. You might know who I'm talking about.
I believe it's Brenner.
Oh, yeah. That's
like breakfast for dinner, right, Brenner? No, yeah, I totally agree. He's a 20-year-old kid who's coming to a new league. I mean, we've seen this time and time again, right? I mean, these guys come in, it's a new area, it's a new style of play, it's a new everything for them. So let's be patient with Marco Angulo. I think to everyone's point so far, I don't see him being a 10 replacement. I do see him being a Júnior Moreno replacement. I mean, Júnior Moreno is 29 years old, and kudos to him for stepping up his game when you've got a young kid coming in who plays the same position. I like Angulo as a box-to-box kind of midfielder. I think to Robert, to your point, you saw some great flashes of it on Saturday. That transition that he led, that he sprung that transition to that goal. I mean, that was as fluid as you could possibly be. And that was everything that you saw that you wanted out of that. And then obviously he makes mistakes in positioning and different things, but give him time, give him some opportunities. I think he's gonna play a vital role down the stretch. I think just because of his price tag, I don't think we got to rush him into being the Lucho Acosta heir apparent, because like you said, Justin, I mean, you mentioned it in your worst, like we still don't have that replacement yet, and that's concerning for me. But I think you have some midfield pieces that can, all right, how are you going to change your style of play, whether it's not funneling everything through a 10, maybe you work it inside out with Barriel pushing higher or something. There's some other tactic that has to go if you're not going to have a Lucho Acosta kind of guy to channel everything.
Yeah, end of the day, if you get a point on the road and you got to start a new player at a position and that he's a role he's never done before yet for us, I think that's a win in a weird way.
Mm-hmm.
It's still early in the season. FC Cincinnati is not pushing for the playoffs, at this very second. I'm sure they're stacking up points, but why not try it out now in case something happens later in the year and you've already got that rusty nerve game out from under you. And of course you can bring him in more as FC Cincinnati's either way up or way down and get the guys the minutes is probably going to be everything Angulo needs right now to get that confidence.
And I'm curious to see how if he gets a start again this week, just in that different role, right? Because Júnior Moreno is not gonna play. He's
True.
He's off with his national team, so
and we don't know how Kubo's doing.
We don't know how Kubo's doing. Do you start Angulo in his traditional role and see, like, all right, 10 wasn't it, but maybe it is your 8. Maybe you are the box to box. Maybe you're a 6. Like, can you be that? You're working next to Obi. Obi's gonna bail you out a lot of times by destroying everything in the middle. Like it's for being a young kid, he's got a lot of great pieces around him to learn how to play different midfield positions. I mean, he can just watch Obi be a destroyer. He can watch Lucho be a 10. I mean, Júnior Moreno is a 29-year-old vet in this league. He's been in this league for a long time. If anybody knows how to play that role in this league, Júnior Moreno is certainly one of them. So.
No. All right. Well, quickly, Ian Murphy is our next buy or sell, I guess. Starting in a way for Hagelin, but because of this, they swapped Mosquera to the other side, right, so that Murphy could play his natural position. How happy are you with Murphy's performance? I'll let any of you take this.
I'm happy with Murphy's performance. I think what was more glaring was Mosquera's. performance on the right hand side. But I think that Murphy was serviceable. I think he did really well. I mean, it's a tremendous amount of stress having a player like Barriel floating up that left wing, and you are reliant on that whole position. I mean, you have Movina that can come flying in out of nowhere, and you do have a good, solid guy to your right with Miazga. But yeah, it can be intimidating to get one of your first starts of the season. Uh, but I mean, it is Chicago Fire, so Shaqiri obviously not in the lineup. Shaqiri normally would be floating in that right hand side, right in his face, but that's off to Murphy. That was a good start. Yeah, I think that Mosquera on the other side, I think that was kind of the issue. I think that normally Hagelin's the man to sit in. Mosquera likes to play forward a little bit. When you have everybody belling upfield, creates a lot of issues.
Robert, that PK that we gave up, Mosquera, I believe, was it worth it or not? Would it have been a goal anyway, or?
I don't think it would have been a goal anyway. It's kind of, I know there's even some debate about, to me, I'll say that first. I think what Mosquera did is he gave the referee the opportunity to award a penalty by tracking so closely to him from behind as he's running to the touchline. I think he could have played off him a little bit more. To me, I did get to my worst of the weekend when we were talking earlier. The 3 goals we conceded were all poor goals in my mind. And even as I was talking before about the team concentrating on being better at shutting teams down, I thought they let themselves down with those 3 goals. And, Coach will be on in his podcast with the tactical breakdown of it. All defending is team defending in the end. And I think there's a lot of blame to go around between midfielders and defenders and more. I wasn't as positive about Ian Murphy as Justin seems to be, but I think even that it's a collective thing, where as far as the 3 center backs working together, and something was missing there. There was some disorganization, and midfielders on the goal right after the halftime. You had a Barriel and Junior got something very wrong between them, and then Mosquera didn't close the guy down before he shot. But back to your original question, sorry, he could have defended better on that penalty. I think that's fair enough to say. But I'm very high on Mosquera. I think he's a great talent and a great signing.
Yeah. Probably the first big misstep, and that's surprising considering new player, new season. But overall, I think I follow your thoughts there. Before we get into the big controversy of the week, why Lucho Acosta couldn't win this game for us and only could bring in 2 goals when he was on the field, we need to jump to our Beyond Exercise ad. So real quick, big shout out to our very local company sponsor.
Beyond Exercise is a locally owned physical therapy and fitness facility that helps people prevent and rehab from injuries, improve fitness and athleticism, and recover from strains of daily life. In fact, they've worked with a couple of your FCC starting 11 over the past 3 off seasons. Check out their website to see who these players are and to see the range of services they provide to keep you pain-free and moving well at GoBeyondExercise.com.
Big thanks again to Beyond Exercise. Check them out. It is that time of year where I need to start hitting a gym, so I'm actually very interested in this sponsorship myself. All right, Lucho Acosta and a surprise Archimedes Ordonez subbed in at the 80th minute. Of course, all credit goes to Archimedes for that amazing display. Lucho Acosta, sure, he just kicked a ball across the field, no big deal. Were you surprised?
For Ordonez?
Yeah, I was. I about fell off my couch chair.
No, I don't remember who quite tweeted it out. It was in Spanish, but yeah, there's an agreement between Ordonez's national club and here with FC Cincinnati to try to get him some more minutes, get him some more touches. Obviously, with FCC 2 starting up here soon this weekend, actually, he'll see a lot more minutes there. But yeah, I mean, he's he's a solid player. You can't keep putting players out there in those kind of elements and in that kind of game when you're not being able to crack the defense. So Ordonez is one of those kind of guys that can create on his own. So I obviously MLS is a big league. It's a physical league, and he's going to have to improve on that. But as far as him playing, yeah, I'd like to see it more.
All right, Josh, I'm going to give you the hard hitting question. Is Acosta that special, or is this all like, Sergio Santos? He landed that ball, right? How come he doesn't get any credit?
I mean, that was a heck of a touch and finish. I mean, he did what you had to do with that, or you might have been kicked off the team, because you can't waste the best assist that's going to happen in the league. Up calling the shot now. That's assist of the year. Like, that ball was, yes, Lucho Acosta is that special. Like, we've seen it. That's the thing. It's like, it's not a blip. Like, he wasn't just an MVP candidate last year out of nowhere. Like, the guy has shown it for a long time that he's got the quality that it takes in this league to be an MVP. Like, I don't want to keep coming back to the point of like how concerning it kind of is that this team still does not have a replacement for him, or have.
How do you have a replacement for? I think somebody in chat said this. The announcer said Acosta's the best player in the league when he wants to be. How do you have a replacement for that?
And you're not trying to replace that, but you got to have a plan, because you can't. He immediately stepped onto the field, and that team was once again like, oh, this is the top of the table team. Like this, like, oh, all of a sudden it just was like it clicked in 2 touches. And so, yes, he's that special. I trust everything that Chris Albright will do at this point, because he really hasn't taken a misstep yet. So you would think that there's got to be some kind of plan in place. I don't think it's going to be somebody like an Archimedes Ordonez. I was curious when he came on for Brandon Vasquez that he went over Don Badji. I haven't seen anything.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that.
Been practice, like, it didn't seem like Badji was like had a knock or anything, or so. I'm just curious now, and maybe I'm looking into things that aren't there, but like maybe that's a different style that Pat Noonan can deploy, of more, instead of bruising, run it, physical style. Maybe you have some more finesse, some more speed, because Ordonez is gonna have he's gonna have some more flow to him than Don Badji will. And if you compare Lucho Acosta with somebody that can make those runs in, could be something interesting to watch for down the stretch, because Ordonez is gonna have to play. Like, he's gonna get minutes at 2, but like as we talked about at nauseum, like, you're going to play so many games this year. Like, guys are going to have to get a break. So you're going to have to figure out a way to get Archimedes Ordonez on the field. You're going to have to get Don Badji's on the field and hope that they can follow the game plan.
Yeah. Or just keep rolling out Sergio Santos. I'd be okay with that. Seems to be doing a phenomenal job. We have a Growler Cup that all of us, the 4 of us, and then our fans all participate in. If you support Cincinnati Soccer Talk, big thank you. You get to play in the Growler Cup every week. This year's prize, of course, there's a small cash prize as normal, but we have also added to the stake. I don't know. Do you guys know what this is right here? It hasn't been seen since 2016, but this is they announced a blood orange back in the day, a blood orange beer. That's a lot smaller than this. This is a 1-pint Imperial special edition blood orange, signed by Mitch Hildebrandt. And so currently the person that would win this is Tyler Noland, who has now taken first place, our first solo first place. He has to hold off for a few more weeks, everybody else. And here's the problem. He's only got a tiny edge. And there's 5 points possible every week. So every week, FC Cincinnati supporters, Cincinnati Soccer Talk supporters are picking win, lose, or draw. They're picking the score. There's 5 points possible. And that's round 1. Round 2 starts next month after. And then we start all over with a new prize, and we step it up each time. until we get to the final round. Then we have a little bit of a playoffs ourselves. So thanks to everyone that supports us. Real quick, I'm going to read Red Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gills, Dan Alberts, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Carl Fight, Christina Sharma, Kyle Pohl, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Jason, who is super average, John Haskell, Ryan Ernst, Mary Lou, Wes Anastasi, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Theft, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, David Wiederhold, Rob Gassell, Brad Weigel, Kevin Day, Paul Hedger, Jamie Smed, Alex Carnegus, Dave Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova, Chris Hubbard, Kevin Cooney, Joe Max, Jack Emery, Sarah Gorman, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Bart Levita, Rob Trevorrow, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Maureen De Moray, Jose, David Myers, John Caffardi, Olympico, Joseph of Hanger, 937, Justin Blair, Kyle Phillips, Ashley Newhouse, Dan Burns, Tyler Nolan, Coach Clip, Justin Gregory, Scott Dalton, and a new Jason Ashcraft. You might have heard that name before. So thanks for signing up to support Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We appreciate each and every one of you. You can also support at cincinnati-soccertalk.com/support or over on our Patreon. Let's jump in to a couple miscellaneous items. We've talked about it. How bad is not having Junior going to hurt us in Nashville? Are you predicting a loss, Josh, or is it over?
I can't predict a loss against Nashville. Can't do it. No, Junior Moreno, it's going to be a noticeable miss. You hope that Yuya Kubo is able to come back and could be another body to rotate in the midfield there. But like we just talked about, like I'm very curious to see if Marco Angulo can fill those shoes, because that's why you paid that much money for him. That's why he's a U22 kid. That's why he's got some hype around him. So why not throw him in? I'm curious to throw him in and see how he can do when you've got Obi playing next to Obi as that partner with Acosta on the field. Kind of take some of that stress away from him of thinking that he has to be that kind of, maybe he has to be that focal point in the offense. Maybe he can settle in a little bit and tuck in next to Obi nice and well and play that transition ball that we saw those glimpses of on Saturday.
I breathed, Rob, a sigh of relief when Brandon Vasquez was not called up. I know that's terrible, but these are the big ones. It's like playing. If we played Louisville again, would you want to miss any players?
No, definitely not. I think with what the men's national team is doing, they play a friendly against Mexico in April. And I think the idea is that's not in an international window, so they're not going to be able to call in any of their European-based players. So I think they're saving that one for the MLS guys, except for Miles Robinson. And then they're going to, so they leave everybody out. So it benefits us. Now, the thing is, how about score a goal? Since you got the chance to stay here, it'd be very nice. He had two really good chances to score on Saturday. The one in particular, when he had a great setup and he just volleyed it just wide. He also had a header, pretty much a free header from about the penalty spot, and couldn't connect on it. Although they ended up actually scoring off the scramble, but it was disallowed. So yeah, it's a break to get him. So how about scoring a goal for us? And I should qualify that by saying he does a lot of other good things with his running, with his hold-up play. He's still valuable for us. I have total faith in him, but it would be nice if he could get off the mark.
Oh, fair enough. Back-to-back away matches for the first time this season. FCC, Justin, a team that has done well on the road thus far, but does that start to affect a club when they haven't seen their home base for a bit?
No.
Not
the way this team is, not the personalities on this team. You think they relish it. I think last year we really had a run going there. I think before the summer window, maybe right after the summer window, where we had a bunch of road matches. I was nicknaming them the Road Warriors. I mean, FC Cincinnati has shown that they could go on the road and steal points and 3 points on the road. So I think this club has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and likes being in those kind of environments, hostile environments that really rile them up. I know Miazga will be up for it.
All I know is that you probably can't play Nashville like you did Chicago.
No.
Gonna need
No.
to see a little bit more.
No, I
Don't
mean
give
we
away.
we have it. We've gone the entire show without even talking about Hany Mukhtar. So I mean, I mean, he's a bit of a problem. So obviously we'll have to figure out what we were talking about with Ngolo, and of course Obina just gonna have to be it this game. I mean, he's gonna have to be it. He's gonna have to be a dog. He's done really well to get the ball out off his feet really quickly this year, and really he gets a lot of crap about playing the ball back, but whenever you're playing against a guy like Hany Mukhtar, you cannot allow the creation to happen because it's kind of like Lucho. When Lucho is playing off of players, it's deadly. You cannot allow him. So you got to get the ball off your feet quickly if in this match. But yes, I like our chances on the road with these kind of cats.
All right. I honestly don't know which one. I'm thinking about my Growler Cup pick. I need a little bit more time. I'm gonna have to listen to Jersey Swap. I'm gonna have to listen to Coach's show and try to figure out the strategy of which way to go here. I'm probably gonna go with the Homer pick, but at the same time, I'm like middle of the pack right now. I need some points, so maybe I'll just see like what you guys are feeling early in the league, and I'm gonna pick the opposite of you just so I can get like a little bit of an edge. I don't know if that strategy works. Rob, are you a pessimist in general, or do you always pick FC Cincinnati?
No, not always. Although I felt like last year, having not gone through the first 3 seasons with you all, I was quicker to expect them to win last season as it was progressing. But to be honest, I'm a little pessimistic about this one, and that Moreno absence is going to make a bit difference, I think. Also, I feel like Nashville is kind of due to play better than they have, so I'm a little bit apprehensive about this game.
Well, I know one thing. I'm going to be arrogant as crap if we win, though, walking out of that stadium. So.
Have you seen Brian Weigel had a video clip that he did on, I think it was I-80 Sports. It's been making rounds on Nashville SC channels. I mean, I've seen that video at least 3 times this week. He talked
that's right. So
about
you're talking about a couple weeks ago. He did a guest interview for somebody else and just brought up Nashville randomly, right?
Yeah, called him his most hated team or one of his most hated teams. They're so arrogant and entitled, and oh my gosh, I mean, it's priceless, man. I hope somebody gets like a cardboard cutout of Ryan if he's not going to be there in person. That would be perfect.
One of these days, you're going to see him on a Nashville tifo just crossed out. This podcast
I love
sucks.
it, man. That's what the MLS is really missing, man, is some of these fan interactions like that. I mean, we get the production now, but it's really nice to see the trash talk. Memes channels are strong, man.
Yeah, well, league's definitely been growing a lot, even in the couple years since I've got it. Real quick, let's jump into your final thoughts. I didn't even realize that we've already passed the hour mark. It's been a fun night. Josh, we'll start with you.
Yeah, and that kind of, flows nicely into like, I'm really excited for this rivalry to really kick off. I mean, obviously these teams have some history going back to USL days, and when they finally came into MLS, it was they're a Western Conference team, so we didn't get to see them that much. But now that they're back over in the East, you hope they stay there for who knows how MLS is going to shake out as they expand and do everything. But yeah, this is that one of those rivalries. Like, obviously Columbus is always going to be there, but there's always just something about Nashville that just like it boils your blood a little bit. And I think this is going to be one of those physical, nasty kind of rivalries that we see MLS hype up year after year as hopefully, FC Cincinnati can start putting some wins on the board and beating them so that can become a true rivalry. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting. It's fun to be able to hate another team. Like, we're so used to it in the, if you're as Bengals fans, you hate those division rivals. If we can make Nashville, the Baltimore Ravens of FC Cincinnati. Let's do it. I love it. I need that in my life.
That was careful word choice. I liked it because you still left the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, yeah, pretty good. Robert, we'll jump to you for your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to our friend Jeremy Lance. Just messaged him before we came on. He says he's home and starting to feel better. So just know we're thinking about you, prayers to you, and keep getting better.
Of course, you're talking about, for those who are new to our show, a member of our team underwent a surgery, so we're all thinking about him in these times as he is successful. So don't freak out or worry about it too much. Just wishing him well as he recovers, and we hope to have him back on here as soon as he's feeling better. And I know he does a podcast with DJ Wrong Side of the Pond, I believe, as well. So DJ's probably really looking forward to, because he doesn't. I'm blessed with all you guys. He only has Lance. So we'll jump to you, Justin. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what Pat Noonan and Kenny Arena have in mind for Santiago Arias. I mean, he came into this team, obviously a lot of quality, but I'm really interested to see. Should be a first start for him this weekend, or second start past the Houston game. I really want to see him develop in this role and see where we're going to go with him. And we got great minutes out of Ray Gaddis, so I'd like to just see Arias and what we're going to ask of him.
I guess I'll just dump my final thought as a follow-up of yours. I was worried about Ray Gaddis being able to continuously start like he has. I think we've seen 2 great games out of Ray where he did everything that they asked of him, and then you get to that third game, and that's kind of what I was worried about. I almost was hoping FC Cincinnati went with Powell in this one, just because the wear and tear on some of our backups there, especially Ray is as old as he is. And if he's listening to this, he's probably like, "What the heck, man? I'm full of energy and youth." But no, I don't know. It's just a trend I've noticed sometimes. It's hard to go 3 games and have great performances every single one, whereas Powell maybe had a little bit something to prove since he's been number 3. No one wants to be number 3. So well, we look forward to seeing FC Cincinnati back at it. This is cool. This whole entire run-up of the beginning of the season has been challenge after challenge after challenge. And even when you think you finally caught a break in Chicago, like, oh man, sandwich Seattle and Nashville is this one easy game? No, it turns out not to be so, because Major League Soccer is very, very hard to win on the road, even if your team is supposed to suck. I mean, it's just like you have a home game. Statistically, if this is still true, I'm pretty sure it is the number 1 league that favors the home team. And the Vegas odds always skew, even if you have the better team on paper, they still skew towards the home side because of that advantage. So
don't look down. The East is looking strong. 5-1-1.
Yep. It's going to be challenging. I think it's going to be a race to the end if you're in that supporter shield race, as FC Cincinnati is 4th in the entire league, East and West. So that's pretty cool. Keep your eyes on that if we continue to get points where we're supposed to get points. At a point on the road, that's all you're supposed to get. If you can steal 3, even better. But good luck to FC Cincinnati this weekend. I look forward to talking about this one next week with you guys. So tune back in and stay tuned to all the other broadcasts and articles we have coming up on the website. We'll see you next time.